Hello and welcome to Football City. To leave a stadium early or not to leave a stadium early? That is the question that I want to pose to you today. It comes off the back of an FA Cup weekend where we saw West Ham face off against Leeds in a game where Leeds United were winning 2-0 up until the 90th minute, and a bunch of West Ham fans decided, you know what, the game is done and dusted, we're losing, we're out of this. We're off Rome, we're going to beat the traffic, we're going to jump on the tube, we're going to get out of here. Then what happens? West Ham score some injury time goals, they bring it back to 2-2 to force extra time, and there's more of the game to be played. And there was this photo doing its rounds on social media, which is loads of West Ham fans stood outside the stadium saying that the stewards won't let us back in. How unfortunate, they're missing out on another 30 minutes of a game that they could go on and win. Now, unfortunately for West Ham, they didn't win the game, but their substitute goalkeeper, Finn Herrick, came on and had a great game in the short time that he was on, with something like 5 minutes to go. He had to come on and face a penalty shootout. And what did he do? His first penalty that he has to face, he saves a penalty. And we're thinking, go on, lad. We're all behind this young fella as he saves his first penalty. And Jared Bowen, who takes the next penalty, sadly for West Ham again, he misses. And maybe it could have been a different story for Finn Herrick. We could have all been talking about what a heroic performance he made, what a great game to come on and make his name. But Leeds United go on, and now Leeds United will be in the semi-finals of the FA Cup. But ultimately, I don't want to make this video too much about that FA Cup game. I want to talk about this thing about fans who leave a stadium early before the game is finished. Now, I know people do it for a whole host of reasons. You know, often it's about beating the traffic. You know, if you're in London, it's about trying to get onto the tube quickly. I know that, you know, it's leaving at any stadium after a game. Traffic is terrible. You could be stuck there for hours. It's hard to get out. But it's this thing of, should you leave early for the sake of traffic? Should you not support your team until that final whistle? Now, I believe that you should, and I want to know what you think, because you might disagree with me, and we'll get into this as we discuss this in the video. Before we do that, can I just say quick thank you for watching. If you like football content, please support the channel, hit that like button, please subscribe to the channel for more football related football content. I can speak normally, but would really appreciate your support. So this idea about staying with your team until the final whistle, and then you've got fans who obviously leave early because they want to beat the traffic or because their team is losing. That's the thing that bothers me. When your team is losing and fans decide that, well, I've had enough now, they've let me down, so I'm going. I say this as a fan who, you know, I support two teams, and I've said that before on previous videos, and I know some people don't like that or believe in that, but you know, Man United is a team that I follow. I also follow my local team, which is Bradford City. And there's many times that I've watched both of those teams. And, you know, it's great when we're winning. You sing when you're winning and it's all good. And you want to enjoy that until the 90th minute. But when you're losing, you see this mass exodus of a crowd of certain fans who think, I've had enough. I remember doing this at Bradford City. You know, our home form has been good of recent, you know, but I've sat through games where we've got battered. I've sat through games where we got relegated that day, you know, and you've got to stick it out. The most recent time I think about is a game where we were losing. The other team, I can't remember the team, but the other team were better. We were something like 2-0 down at half time or 3-0 down at half time, and you're thinking, well, maybe we can turn this around. You never know. You've got to stick it out with your team. Maybe there's a great half time team taught by the manager, and maybe it turns around at half time. Anyway, after half time, it got to 4-0. I think we lost the game 4-1 in the end, but by 4-0, 65 minutes in, fans were leaving. And I say fans, but people were leaving. Do you know what I'm saying? I personally disagree with that. I think you've got to stick with your team regardless. If you're winning, if you're drawing, if you're losing, you've got to stick it out. Because if you don't appreciate the lows, how are you going to appreciate the highs? Do you know what I'm saying? You're a fan, you support your team no matter what. I had a mate who is a Liverpool fan, and I remember a game where they were playing Norwich, I believe. I remember this because I remember the scoreline. And, you know, Liverpool should be beating Norwich. You'd argue that in most cases. And it got to a point where I believe Norwich were winning the game, something like 3-2 or 4-3 or something like that, or it was they were drawing. And my friend was so disgusted with Liverpool's performance that he switched the TV off. He says, I can't believe the team's losing. Now, I watched the game to the end. I'm not even a Liverpool fan or a Norwich fan, but I thought, you know, I like football. I'll watch the game. And the game actually finished 5-4 to Liverpool. And then I said to my mate shortly after the game, I said, "Oh, what did you think of the game?" And he said, "Oh, I switched it off." I said, "So you didn't watch it to the end?" He goes, "Nah, I didn't bother. I'm not watching that rubbish." So I said, "All right, well, watch Match of the Day tonight." And he said, "Yeah, I'll probably do that then." He missed out on his team having a great comeback, coming back to win the game 5-4 because he decided he'd had enough. And that's the type of fan that I'm talking about. Like, you can support your team however you want to. It's a free country. But I feel like if you switch off the moment your team are losing, what does that say about you? It kind of says that I'm only here for the good times. I don't support my team through thick and thin. The moment they start letting me down, the moment they start playing badly, I'm not interested. I'm not a fan of that type of support. You can do what you like, but personally, I disagree with that. I think if you're a real fan, this is what a real fan is. You support your team no matter what they're going through. You can argue that, well, who are you to say what a real fan is, Marcus? You know, I pay my money, you know, I pay loads of money, I'll go follow my team wherever. And it's like, well, if you pay for tickets and you go support your team, yes, it's a free country. You can pay your money, you can go in a stadium, you don't even have to watch the game, you can close your eyes, you can play Candy Crush, you can go to sleep, you know, you can do what you like. That doesn't constitute a real fan to me. A real fan is someone who supports the team. You can give constructive criticism. You can say that you know your team has done badly. You can say that you feel like certain players have let your team down. You can criticise them and complain and actually have a proper whinge when you feel like you spent a ton of money watching your team put in a bad performance. That's all fine. That's constructive criticism. That's absolutely fine to do. But this thing about walking out on your team the moment they're doing badly, I'm not down with it. It's like a family member, you know, if you're in a relationship, if you're married and, you know, it's all good when it's, you know, you're partying or there's an anniversary or a birthday or you're on holiday and it's all good. But the moment that you're having a bad time, like an argument, like you're falling out with each other, it's like, oh, well, I'm not in this relationship anymore. I'm not there anymore. I'm not down for it. I'm walking out. I'm gone. Do you know what I'm saying? You're not going to build anything. You're not going to celebrate any of those successes. So you got to stick with it. You know what I'm saying? Little marriage example there. Do you know what I'm saying? So I would love to know what you think about that. Do you feel like, as a fan, you've got the right to leave early? Or do you feel like fans who leave early are a bit of a disappointment and aren't really supporting the team the way that I think they should be? And maybe you agree with me, maybe you disagree. I would love to know what you think, so let me know what you think in the comment section. This is FCTV, Football City. This is where we talk about football. Your opinions are welcome. We can agree, we can disagree. It's all good. This is the world that we live in. Do you know what I'm saying? It's all good. So let me know what you think in the comments. Like I said at the start of the video, please support the channel, please subscribe, and I would love to hear from you. So until the next video, take care of yourselves and each other, and I'll see you soon.